Well, good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and then we're available on demand. And we're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple Television, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Wednesday, April 12th, 2023, and we are literally live and out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same models of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ plus community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbian, trans, youth and student services, seniors, HIV/AIDS healthcare, business, political advocacy, and faith. Help us support our communities.
We are one of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television, news, talk, and entertainment shows support and educate support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Well, let's begin by welcoming anchor Fay What. She's a radio and television personality and has a popular blog and YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, an animal advocate, and owner of Fay's Fur Family. Also, make sure to catch the Fay What Show, the first LGBTQ plus morning show Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern online or on your smart television. Fay was the winner of the 2022 SFGN Best Local Television Personality. Welcome, Fay.
Yes, I was. And hey, I want to remind everybody that Dining Out for Life is this Thursday. Dining Out for Life benefits the incredible Broward House, who helps folks with HIV and AIDS thrive, okay? Not just live, but thrive. The Broward House is such an incredible organization, and I am truly excited to be an ambassador. So I will be at Bubbles and Pearls from 5 to 10 p.m. this Thursday. Come join me. There's a bunch of restaurants participating, and they're all giving a percentage of their sales of the day over to Broward House. Mr. John Hayden is going to come join me too later on as well. So make sure you check it out online. It's on my social media, and I will see everybody Thursday. Just make a plan. Go somewhere for breakfast, go somewhere for lunch, then come and meet me at Bubbles and Pearls for dinner. Again, it goes to an incredible cause, Broward House. Thank you for all you do. Next up, let's welcome John Hayden. He's a journalist for 28 years. He now works for several outlets, including South Florida Gay News as senior reporter and community editor, covering politics, entertainment, and local events directly impacting the LGBTQ plus community. John's interviewed everyone, from presidents to Oscar winners, and he'll be starting the weekend off right with me at Dining Out for Life to benefit Broward House. Thank you for joining me, John, and thank you for that. You're so sweet.
I'm so excited. Two things I love: Bubbles, Pearls, and a third thing, Fay.
Ah, that's me.
Next, let's welcome anchor Auntie Maim. She is a singer, actor, advocate, podcaster, and stand-up comic. She's the mother of the House of Yes. She is currently hosting Amazing Colossal Karaoke at Kill Your Idol and is hosting her own podcast, Baking Sugar. She is also the mother of Florida and the Southeast's only all-queer comedy and performance collective based in Miami, performing at Villain Theater. Good evening, Maim.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. just for everybody watching, remember, Black Market's coming up in 2 weeks. So if you want to come hang out with all the cool kids all over South Florida, that's where we'll be. So
Where's it at? Is it at Revolution?
Revolution Live in Fort Lauderdale. So you can come hang out and we'll have a good time. I'm very excited. This is KirbyCon this time. We have a different theme, so it's anime themed. So bring out your best geisha girl outfits. So yes. So we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Wednesday, April the 12th.
Well, first up, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Florida's Representative Webster Barnaby calls transgender constituents demons and imps. During a debate over a bill that would prevent people from using bathrooms designated for the opposite sex, Representative Webster Barnaby, a Republican from Deltona and the only black GOP representative in Florida, lashed out against the several transgender Floridians who spoke out against the bill. He called transgender Floridians, quote, demons and imps, and compared them to mutants from another planet, end quote, during a committee hearing. He compared the speakers, who included transgender Floridians and parents of transgender children, to the X-Men, characters from the Marvel comic books in which bigotry, hatred, and a fear of mutants are central themes. The comments appeared to stun lawmakers. The bill's sponsors, Representative Rachel Laurel Saunders Plotkin, a Republican from Lake Mary, tried to distance herself from the comments, saying she felt it was valuable for the public to speak on bills. A few minutes later, Barnaby apologized after the committee had already moved on to another bill. Barnaby's comments came after several transgender Floridians and parents of transgender children spoke out against HB 1521. The bill defines a female as a person who, at birth, had the, quote, reproductive role of producing eggs, end quote, and then defines a male as a person who, at birth, has the, quote, reproductive role of producing sperm, end quote. The bill also says schools will set their own disciplinary procedures for children who enter a restroom for the opposite sex and refuse to leave when asked.
I'm looking at society today, and it's like I'm watching an X-Men movie with people that, when you watch the X-Men movies for Marvel Comics, it's like we have mutants living among us on planet Earth. And, you know, some people don't like that, but that's a fact. We have people that live among us today on planet Earth that are happy to display themselves as if they were mutants from another planet. This is the planet Earth, where God created men, male, and women, female. I'm a proud Christian, conservative Republican. I'm not on the fence. Not on the fence. There is so much darkness in our world today. So much evil in our world today. And so many people who are afraid to address the evil, the dysphoria, the dysfunction. I'm not afraid to address the dysphoria or the dysfunction. The Lord rebuke you, Satan, and all of your demons and all of your imps who come and parade before us. That's right, I called you demons and imps who come and parade before us and pretend that you are part of this world. So I'm saying my righteous indignation is stirred. I am sick and tired of this. I'm not going to put up with it. You can test me and try to take me on, but I promise you I'll win every time. Let's all vote up on this bill. Thank you.
Well, I have to tell you, when I saw this yesterday happening in the committee, I honestly have to tell you, I was horrified. I don't think I can ever remember in my life a state representative for any state in America, frankly, at least in my modern lifetime, let's move out of the 50s and 60s, that has ever spoken about other people in this way. Dangerous. He gets a couple of things right. First, I think it's very valuable that at least he knows how to define a female and male of egg production and sperm production. Congratulations, dude, that you've reduced all humans to that simple standard. It's interesting, you better hold on to it, because Florida is moving in a direction where we're not going to teach the birds and the bees anymore, so nobody will know who produces the eggs and who produces the sperm in schools. So at least you know. Something else that's shocking to me about this isn't Tucker or Sean or Laura or Newsmax that regularly speaks in this way. Yes. This is a state representative representing the black community as a GOP. Now that is not an oxymoron, apparently. But here's why it is an oxymoron. You sit there to say, as a religious person of faith, that you're not going to stand for it anymore. And as you were saying that, and I thought this about Clarence Thomas and what he said in his incredibly conflicting statements about of reopening all cases that had been settled. In 1967, his ability to marry his white woman wife was established by the Supreme Court, which he contradicts. It's interesting to me that this state representative does the exact same thing. I'm not going to stand for it anymore because you're mutants, which makes no sense in our civil society. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about all of the white pastors in the South in 1958 that was saying the exact same thing about you as a black man, and all of the references of the animal that you were. Horrible then in 1958, horrible yesterday. But the difference is, it was in the legislature of the great state of Florida. Shocking.
Well, first off, I need to ask, has he ever seen an X-Men movie? I mean, the mutants are generally the heroes of the movie. They are the good guys, so...
He doesn't know he's the villain.
And we relate so much to the X-Men movie.
Yeah.
So when he first said that, I was like, wait a minute.
I was like, yeah, is he on our side? Second of all, what kind of questionable character do you have that you look at a baby and go, oh, she's going to produce some good eggs in a few years. Oh, he's going to produce some good sperm. They're babies. That's beyond creepy. And third, he's putting all this religious warfare out there, which is a dog whistle to the exact people you were talking about. Newsmax, all those fringe, and I'm not even going to count Tucker Carlson. Fox is no longer really fringe compared to what else is out there, One America News and all that.
He was a hero yesterday.
That speech is designed to get him a spot on television, because Fox News isn't going to probably put on a state representative, or CNN's not going to put on a state representative. Newsmax will have your ass on there. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get some exposure for himself. In addition to, I genuinely believe him, though. I genuinely believe that he is a hateful fascist bigot.
Oh, for sure. And you know where you can put that apology? Up your ass. Okay, you know, and he might like that, but not the point, okay? Like, seriously, he came back and apologized for his words, all right? In his statement, he was like, this is how I truly feel. Nobody will ever change how I feel. And if you want to get rid of me, then you'll have to get rid of me, because this is who I am, and this is my religious freedom to feel this way. And I have this hate, and this hate is targeted towards the right people. That's basically what he was saying. And then it's, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean to say it that way.
And just to continue, just to put an added observation to your note, he apologizes because in the hearing meeting, he's hearing from all of the representatives, GOP representatives, of, dude, what have you just done?
That's why he's apologizing.
And that's why he apologized. It was not within an hour that he took to his social media to correct himself by saying, I stand by what I said, and this is how I feel, and so he didn't apologize.
But that's the problem, though. This is the problem with current politics and all of these gerrymandered states. Because if you're a representative and there is in no way or any way that you'll lose your seat, what does it matter what I say anymore? It doesn't matter because I'm almost always guaranteed to win re-election. That's why you're seeing what's happening in all of these states. It doesn't matter what we say, it doesn't matter what we do, because they already know that their party has gerrymandered something, and it happens in some Democratic states, but their party has made it so that you don't have to worry about what you say anymore.
Maim, I have to point out to you, and I'm curious, and I want to ask you, and please,
Sure.
the intention of where my heart is in asking you this question. But if he was watching you right now, he would say you're one of the mutants that I'm talking about.
And I would say to him, baby, I am. I am the best kind of mutant because I could give a rat's ass about you. I could give a rat's ass about your party because if you pay attention to what the mutants are, you're the villain. So I tell you this right now, you are the villain. So if you need to go watch X-Men, whatever, be reminded that in the end of the day, you'll always be the villain.
And standing on the wrong side of history. Wrong side. That will be played post your death.
That's right.
And your family is going to say, oh my God, Grandpa crazy. Grandpa crazy.
I'm going to change my last name, right? I don't want to be associated.
And one last thought. Good residents of Deltona, Volusia County, Florida, are you proud of what you elected to represent you in Florida? You're proud? We're not talking about Republican Democrat. We're not talking about DeSantis Chris. We're not talking about Marco Rubio, Val Demings. We're talking about that man that spoke that way with parents in the room of the children he's talking about.
That poured their heart out.
Imagine those kids. Imagine those kids hearing that from an adult saying,
Deltona, West Volusia County, are you proud right now? Because if you are, you should be looking in the mirror.
Well, we move on and we clear up South Florida gay news. The future of the gayborhood. After years of stops and starts, Wilton Manors is finally on the precipice of major redevelopment. In this week's SFGN, online now and on stands tomorrow, I look at the first major project, redevelopment of the Shops of Wilton Manor, or Alibi Plaza as it's commonly known, in the heart of the city's entertainment district. This coming Monday's Planning and Zoning Board meeting will make some make or break decisions and address the requests from the developer, and it's shaping up to be a packed house, with businesses and residents alike weighing in on the pros and cons of adding a parking garage and a 250-unit mixed residential building. Concerns about disruption during construction, adding a mid-rise structure to the skyline, and parking spot size will all be addressed. These are all valid and common concerns I've heard when covering development stories over the years. But what makes this unique is another concern, LGBTQ plus heritage. New housing brings new residents. And there's a good chance we will see an influx of heterosexual residents with straight businesses to follow. On its surface, that's fine. Wilton Manors welcomes everyone, and heterosexual and straight don't mean anti-LGBTQ plus. But Alibi Plaza is the cultural heart of LGBTQ plus heritage in Wilton. Georgie's Alibi was the first gay business to successfully plant its flag. Many have followed to make Wilton the place it is today. A group of businesses has formed Wilton Drive Voice, and one of their goals is to set up programs to make sure the LGBTQ plus voice isn't lost to gentrification like what happened in Key West and South Beach. That's the fate of many traditional gayborhoods across the country. If Wilton is to remain the gayest place on earth, it will take a conscious effort. You can read more about what's at stake in this week's SFGN. And remember, the Planning and Zoning Board meeting is this Monday at 6 p.m. at City Hall. 6 p.m. Usually it's at 7. It's at 6 o'clock. So if you are interested in coming out, make note. It begins early because they're expecting a packed house.
Yes.
They're expecting lengthy public comments. And I am expecting a very thorough grilling of the developers as they go. Because once this is done, I'm pretty sure procedurally it will then move to the commission for a final vote.
Have you heard anything from the businesses presently there? Like, is anybody happy, sad, indifferent about this?
You know, no one's willing to go on the record, but a lot of people are talking to me. and they have very valid concerns. They don't want, like I said, the businesses formed Wilton Voice, and that is made up of Wilton Drive businesses. So it's not like the far-flung reaches of Andrews or Powerline. It's all the businesses right there, and they're taking a very active and very critical eye towards this development.
You know, I have to say, in full disclosure, Queer News Tonight is very active in this story. And at this moment, I will just say we're very active in this story. It's very disappointing to me that every door or phone that I call, oh yeah, I just talked to John Hayden at South Florida Gay News, but following right in John's footsteps. John, I'm curious, but we'll have a lot more on this, and I know John is going to do a great job with this story too. I'm curious from your work on it so far, what do you hear about the developers? Any particular comments that you're hearing?
Like, what are they asking?
Well, what they're asking for is they want to have smaller parking spaces than the city requires. And honestly, I am not a city planner, but I know that our Wilton Manor's parking spot sizes are significantly larger than Fort Lauderdale or Oakland Park, the neighboring cities to the thing. They also I think there's going to be some discussion about how far back off the road they have to be parking. A lot of it is very technical, but the debate, I sense, is going to be very emotional.
And back to the developer. The developer is based in Coconut Grove. This is
Miami.
This is the smallest project the developer has. I hear estimates that this project is $80 to $100 million. So we're talking about, for Wilton Manor, it's a gigantic project, and it's their smallest. What do you hear anything yet from city officials, business officials, critics of the product, cheering for the project? Do you hear anything
I'll tell
about?
You, I have not talked to the developers or their representative. I have talked to people from a very wide spectrum of people who have skin in this game. And honestly, I can't get a read on a lot of people because they want Wilton Manors to grow. I mean, our population has grown like only 1,000 people, from 12,000 to 13,000 in like the last 15 years. So that's essentially zero growth. There's a new development that is getting ready to open on Andrews and Oakland Park.
That's the Ave.
Yes. Yep. And then there's over where the church burned down, the old church burned down on 26th Street, and across from there where the Holy Angels church is. That's going to be torn down and go away. So this is the first one. But what makes this one unique is that it is the heart of Wilton Drive. And honestly, I do believe that the swing issue in this is going to be how will the developer take steps to preserve the spirit of what is Wilton Drive. And there's a chance they're going to come back and say, well, look, we're only redeveloping half the parcel, the front building that houses Alibi, front parcel that houses Hunter's Nightclub, Tap That Ash, and several other businesses in there. That building's not going anywhere. Now, can they survive while that's happening? While this construction is going on, like not even across the street,
like right
across
there.
the parking lot. Can they survive? That's another question. But don't be fooled by thinking that the developer is generous of heart and generous of spirit. They're not redeveloping that area right now because Hunters and Alibi have such long-term leases that it would be cost prohibitive. Even at a $180 million project, it would still be cost prohibitive to buy them out of their leases. So there's no real generosity going on here, or yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Are they trying to make Wilton like South Beach? I moved to South Beach, many years ago because it was our gay area. It was where I felt that I could be me freely and unapologetically, right? Then you go back to South Beach now and it's not that way anymore.
Well, to answer your question, one of the major players that are affected by this construction project said, in direct comparison to what they watched happen in South Beach in the 90s into the new millennium. They said in an interview with me today, you remember the joke, last gay person out of South Beach, turn off the light? Wait, strike South Beach, insert Wilton Manors. That was said today by a major player. And so John, I think his reporting gets it an absolute bullseye. This meeting and the discussion of this construction and what happens next for Wilton Manors is really, really critically important. For a developer to come in and say, well, you know, we'll spend $80 to $100 million means that the city commission is starting to make the changes in density and city codes to allow a business. That the change of the height restriction of 4 stories to 8 stories makes this project possible. It would not be possible without that change. But the question will be, now that we have that change and a developer like this comes into Wilton Manors, what will happen to Wilton Manors and its positive effects and its negative effects? And there are both. There is no absolute winner and there's no absolute loser. So it's a question of where it lands in the middle and how that affects gentrification and how it affects LGBT.
Next, let's queer up health. AMA gains first gay president amid attacks on trans health. Dr. Jesse Ehrenfeld, an anesthesiologist, a Navy combat veteran, and a father of 2, has become the first openly gay person to lead the American Medical Association amidst the fractious time for U.S. healthcare. Transgender patients and those seeking abortion care face restrictions in many places. The medical judgment of physicians is being overridden by state laws. Disinformation is rampant, and the nation isn't finished with COVID-19. At 44, Ehrenfeld will be among the AMA's youngest presidents when he begins his 1-year term on June 13th. He spoke recently to the Associated Press about his background and a new job, while discussing how being part of the LGBTQ+ community informs and influences his job. He said that he has experienced the healthcare system as a gay person, as a gay parent, as in many ways, wonderful positive experiences, and other ways, some deeply harmful experiences. He thinks as a nation, the country can do better by lifting up health. Expressing his thoughts on political interference in medicine, he said, quote, "I'm deeply concerned about government intrusion into decision-making for patients. The Supreme Court ruling around abortion has had profound implications for reproductive rights," end quote. He believes patients have a right to access evidence-based healthcare services, including care for transgender people. You know, this story made me happy, okay? It's a high point in all the crappy news that we've been delivering lately, you know? The AMA is powerful. The AMA has a lot of lobbyists, okay, that work for them, okay? So this could be a wonderful stance in the right direction, you know? There is just way too much power that the government has now have over people and bodies and practitioners and healthcare workers. I've told you a ton of times, Al, how my wife is afraid for her own license, you know, and I'm like, no, we must stand up and fight. And she's like, do you want to pay the mortgage?
It's like that.
You know, I mean, that's scary that we have to make that fight, that we have to make that choice.
Yeah. You know, the exciting news here is at the top of the pyramid. We've said this like 9,942 times. Representation matters.
Yes.
To have a gay doctor be the leadership and president. A gay parent, right, even better, to represent the AMA. This is such an important post because this organization is so critically important, not only to American healthcare, but worldwide. The American Medical Association is one of the most pristine medical organizations in the world. To have a gay parent, gay man at its leadership, representation matters. The other thing, he blows a dog whistle by saying evidence-based. I'm very concerned about evidence-based. Okay, dude, you're political as the new president of the AMA, but let's call a spade a spade. What he's saying is, from this gay man, science matters.
Yeah.
Right? And in LGBT, we were the most embracing, statistically, the most embracing of the use of masks during the pandemic.
Yep.
While Tucker is screaming bloody murder, people's lives were being saved by masks. And we were the first and the most embracing in our utilization percentages in our community for vaccines.
Yep.
And while people in Mississippi and negative impression of Mississippi intentional, the LGBTQ community in Florida and in America was overwhelmingly taking the vaccine. There was a reason why in both of those things. We believe in science.
Yep.
We reject the anti-scientific thought because it makes no sense. we now have a president of the AMA who represents our community. It's great representation, but is already blowing the dog whistle. We are very evidence-based. Okay, we get it. We believe in science, yes, and that's great for everyone, and it's great for America, and it's great for our community.
I think the AMA was one of the few people who even stood up to Trump when he was talking all that crazy madness, when he was like, oh, this is nothing. Oh, please just take some vitamin C, you'll be fine. Yeah. Right? The AMA was like, don't take it. He's a mess. Just sanitize your insides. No big deal, you know.
Or horse drugs.
Clorox and horse drugs, y'all.
Exactly.
You know, it's so much on this story. First, it's frightening that we have to have a dog whistle to say that we believe in science. Jesus Christ, people.
Wow.
Second, basically what
it's good to say that the AMA is maintaining its reputation, because remember, they came out, they were the ones who said being homosexual is not a disease, and they were just railed against back in like in the early 70s, 1972, I think. But they stood by it. They say, because, you know, science.
There's that.
But America is on the precipice of failing the rest of the world, because the next Republican president, the CDC, if you're on their website, it's cdc.gov.
That's right.
The leadership is appointed by the president.
Yeah.
And
there's no Anthony Fauci.
And so we have to keep in mind that if we get a Republican president, because Ron DeSantis has appointed someone who I think got their medical license, you know, from night school at St. Martin's.
Oh my God.
The French side, not the Dutch side. That's the cool side. You know, and he could, my God, him as Surgeon General for the country, that's going to let down the world, because we are still looked at as leaders. And finally, it's nice to have a gay doctor who understands gay patients. I've had both. I've had a regular doctor. He was great, but didn't have really a clue about gay health, PrEP, things like that. So it's going to be good to have that kind of leadership at the top. He's very cute. He's an anesthesiologist, but I'd let him keep me up all night, and I just wish he was a proctologist.
You had to go there, right?
Yeah. What is up with you today?
And again, just to hit that period, it's so important that he has experienced what we have experienced, okay? As being LGBTQ and trying to get health care is not the easiest, you know, for experiences like you've had, you know, where the doctor doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Just one final note. At the end of the day, we have the president of the American Medical Association that is going to be able to say, this is the unique needs of this community. And let's just pay attention to let's just keep them in the game. Whereas the counterparts are saying, we don't even want to acknowledge that they exist.
Maybe they'll go away.
No,
they'll go away. Maybe they'll go away.
They exist, Al. Remember, they're demons and imps.
Oh, that's right. Demons and
Remember,
imps.
they exist, right? So that's what we are now.
We are the X-Men.
We're the X-Men. All right,
I want to be Storm.
Okay,
sorry.
You're more of a rogue.
Oh, okay. Oh, I love rogue.
Next, let's queer up business. Gay couples' Pride apparel goes from celebrity favorite to Walmart shelves. Until recently, some of Sergio Aragon and Jesus Gutierrez's biggest moments as the founders of Gay Pride Apparel involved seeing their designs out in the wild, including being worn by the likes of actors Lily Reinhart and Frankie Grande. Now they can add another milestone to the list, launching an exclusive collection at Walmart stores across the country in honor of Pride Month in June. In November 2022, oh, I went too far. In November 2022, an email from someone purporting to work for Walmart landed in Aragon and Gutierrez's inbox. The message asked whether Gay Pride Apparel would be interested in launching a Walmart exclusive collection that would highlight LGBTQ businesses during Pride Month in June 2023. The couple ignored it. In the beginning, thinking it was a scam, after receiving a second email, they decided to respond and see if this was a real opportunity. Turns out it was, and they are one of 4 small businesses participating in the seasonal event. Their designs would even be displayed at their childhood home-based Walmart near 51st Avenue and Indian School Road in Phoenix. We all have a home Walmart. The couple is now based in New York City and runs Gay Pride Apparel as a small and mighty team of 2 while working from home. The company was launched in January 2019. I love this story. So, I mean, I'm from the South. I'm a Walmart girl. I'm not gonna lie and pretend like I'm not. I am. right? I will go there first before Target.
You can put together a costume out of Walmart.
Yes,
Easy, right?
multiple costumes have come from Walmart. What are you talking about? Many dresses I've made have come from Walmart fabric.
I love this story, okay? And for anybody who says that they are selling out, F you, all right?
Literally.
Because this is such a great opportunity, all right? We're on Walmart shelves, and this was literally a pop and pop organization that did this, and now they're in Walmart. It's beautiful representation.
I can tell you what Walmart had last year for Pride. It was about this, it was smaller than this table, and it was basically like rainbow hats and glasses.
It was like rainbows vomited on everything. That's all it was.
That's all it was, right? And so for this, at this point in time, although this might seem like a very silly story, this is a very important story. Companies at this point are literally putting their reputations out there and saying, no, we're not going backwards. We're not doing it, right? Bud Light, they had their thing. They're like, no, we're not.
And by the way, for women, people of color, faith diversity, and LGBT, we're not going back.
You know, you mentioned Bud Light, and when I first read this story, I had visions of Kid Rock coming back from Walmart and sending all of his merchandise on the table.
Everything.
I went to Walmart and spent $100,000
all up. You know, I mean. And usually I wouldn't say going from celebrities modeling your clothes to Walmart would be a promotion, but if it's Frankie Grande to Walmart, yeah, I'd say that's a step up.
No, child. Gay Pride Apparel, Sergio Aragon and Jesus Gutierrez. Let me tell you just quickly, you don't know this story of why you're so important. The director of the National Task Force National Dinner, one of the most important LGBT fundraising events in the world, tells a story on Queer News Tonight. I was in very conservative St. Johns County in North Florida, just south of Jacksonville in St. Augustine. And I was there to visit a family member. And it's not the, it's not the best of the best for Florida. And it's not Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
Welton Manors. I walked into a Walmart, and it happened to be Pride Month last year, and there was this whole section of Pride, everything. He said, in this very conservative community, Walmart said, nope, right there. He said, I had to spend money in this Walmart just to say, my goodness, thank you, Walmart. And de facto, what he's saying is, thank you, Gay Pride Apparel. That's the director of the National Task Force Dinner. That's how you're going to influence gay people and straight people all over America. The other thing I love about this story is we're in April and we've just done our first Rainbow Capitalism. I got to hear my first FU on Rainbow Capitalism. Do you know why this story is so important? Because Walmart, we're in Fort Lauderdale, there's South Beach, there's West Hollywood, there's the Castro. They don't need the help, although we thank Walmart for doing it here too.
Yes.
In Murfreesboro, Tennessee, in June, there's going to be this department in the Walmart in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, with crazy governor, crazy Speaker of the House, no drag queens, no trans. Let's not have a Pride in Franklin, Tennessee, right outside of Murfreesboro. And Walmart goes, no, no, no. And people get to see that.
Here it is.
And here it is. And who they're going to influence is not us. We're already in on the game. They're going to put why Pride is important to all of the people that need the opportunity to see why Pride is important. Thank you, Walmart. Thank you.
Thank you.
And boys, Gay Pride Apparel, whew, this June, I can't wait to buy it. I just can't wait to buy it. All right, that's my cue. Next, let's queer up courts. The U.S. court rules that religious freedom doesn't trump student rights. A U.S. appeals court ruled on Friday that an Indiana high school did not break the law by allegedly forcing a music teacher to quit after he refused, on religious grounds, to use transgender students' preferred names. According to the Chicago-based 7th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, quote, the rights of the teacher, John Klug, to exercise his religious beliefs were outweighed by the potential disruption that his conduct could have had on the learning environment at Brownsburg High School in Indianapolis suburbs, end quote. Klug said his Christian religious beliefs barred him from complying with the school policy requiring faculty to use students' preferred names and pronouns. The school initially allowed Klug to call students by their last names, but reneged after receiving complaints from students and faculty. He said he resigned in 2018 after he was told he would be fired. Klug sued the school district in 2019, accusing it of violating a federal law that prohibits workplace discrimination based on religion. He was seeking to get his job back and for unspecified monetary damages. Klug is represented by the Alliance Defending Freedom, a conservative Christian legal group, and in the lawsuit he argues that allowing him to call students by their last names would not create a burden for the school. It's an interesting decision. It's a little surprising to me because mostly we're hearing religious rights trumping everything else. In this instance, the Federal District Court of Appeals sustains the speech right over the religious right. Now, it's going to be challenged. This is likely going to get all the way to the Supreme Court. I call out the radical GOP and the radical evangelicals on this decision because we're reporting this story and saying, isn't this good news? And I'm muting that good news by saying, wait, it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. Yeah. But what's happening at Fox News tonight is radical judges. No, it's just judges that you don't like the decision for.
Yeah, basically.
And when this gets to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court reverses it, because likely they will, and sustain religious rights, then you're going to go, great judges, great. Wait, it's all a lie. This is all a lie. And at the end of the day, this federal appeals judge can do this. And at the end of the day, the Supreme Court judges can do this. What's important to all of us in this story is elections matter.
That's right.
That's the issue in this decision.
You know, it's important to point out that this teacher, and this is near where I grew up. I grew up in Indianapolis, so I'm pretty familiar with the vibe on the south side and the west side and all that. But teachers aren't there to collect a paycheck. They're there to serve students. And you don't serve your students by challenging or just outright ignoring one of the most personal things that make you who you are, and that's your name. Yeah. Your name can be given, your name can be changed, and some people don't want to, social studies is not football practice. You don't go, Ferguson, who was the 14th president of the United States? No. Your name is such an essential part. And if I wanted to be called Matthew, my middle name, my teacher should have called me that. If I wanted to be called Janine, my teacher should have called me that, because that is who I am. That is who I am when I am inside those walls, and it's the teacher's job to respect that and encourage people to grow. They might not grow the way you want them to. Oh, well, that's too bad. Your job is to help them grow to be who they essentially are.
And by the way, just a quick observation note, that's exactly what the federal appeals judge rules, that the speech rights outweighed your religious decision-making choice, and it was more important for the student.
Listen, they need to just pay this guy off and just send him on his way. For all the incredible teachers that we've all had growing up that allowed us to be us and gave us a safe space. Like I always mention Mrs. Parisi, because if it wasn't for her, I probably would have killed myself, okay? And that's the truth. There are these teachers. This is the kind of teacher that should not be allowed to teach a single extra day of his life ever. He is a gross representation. It doesn't help him. It doesn't affect him any way to call somebody by a different name. We're not saying call her Rusia la vagina. We're saying call him Tim. Call her Christy. It's not something out of this crazy world. It wouldn't change his life. And you have a kid for an hour and then they go on to another class. It just doesn't make any sense.
But I think that the problem with so many of these stories that we're hearing lately is that they are now taking it upon themselves to make it matter to them, because that kid who does want you to give them a preferred name, for them now they have become a person they have to proselytize to, and they have to convert to, and they have to do all of these things to. And the part of the story where they say using the last name, once that's happened, the entire school knows why you're losing last names. Everyone knows why you're doing it. So the entire point that you're trying to fix, that point's already broken. And so I think it's amazing when you have people at this point, and I freely will say this, if you have very strong religious convictions that mean that you cannot serve the population equally and not somehow preach to them, try to convert them, you should not be a public teacher.
Amen.
There are plenty of private Christian schools all over the country that will gladly have you.
Yep.
You
And
serve
let you
the-
misgender
Right.
everybody and just be your horrible
serve the
self.
public. If you serve the public as a public school teacher, you serve the entire public.
Yep.
You know, I one final thought. We have to move on. I am constantly, almost on a daily basis now, someone brings to my attention, gosh, the news that y'all are reporting, it's so hard. It is so hard. And my answer is, well, what do you want me to do? Bury our heads in the sand? Because this is what's going on in the world. We can't win currently. This is a rare victory at the appeals level, which will continue to be challenged. That's my point. The one thing that I think is important to observations here is, are we on the right side of history? This teacher is not. And they can't sustain this forever. You can feel that they're holding on with their fingernails to keep the world the way they've always thought the world is. They won't be able to sustain it. They're on the wrong side of history. It was true in 1939. It was true in 1952 with McCarthy. It was true in 1964 in civil rights. It was true in 1974 in LGBT rights. And. They're on the wrong side of history. And so as we're telling all of these really hard and difficult stories, we should take some solace in that. We are on the right side of history, and it eventually will be proven.
Let's move on. Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church right here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
And that is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening news show. If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience, watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspot Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Fay What, John Hayden, and Auntie Maim, we will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you good night.
Buenas noches.